at Dawn, right here at Hope TV, where you look and you live. Karibu sana. And it's now time for the newspaper review. My name is George Gishuru.
And my name is Beatrice Nudi. It's time for us to get into today's newspapers. Definitely much is being reported, and I'll be starting us off with the Daily Nation to see what are the highlights. The number one story here is how 1 trillion shillings body debt will hit you. Interesting here. The government projects to borrow 1 trillion shillings from the local market, which is nearly the entire 1.1 trillion shillings budget deficit for the 2026-2027 financial year. This is bad news for the private sector, since businesses whose pool of financiers is shrinking fast will struggle even more to secure credit, as most lenders, including commercial banks, opt to loan the government with an eye on guaranteed repayment and higher consistent returns. A story covered on pages 4 all the way to 5, and you can have a look at that story. It goes ahead to say that Kenya's loans burdens has risen to over 12 trillion shillings and higher than the recommended ceiling. This is quite interesting. The borrowing rate has gone up very high, and you know, the math is not mathing really, because taxes are rising, and the reason we were given for the taxes going up is so that we will reduce the loans. But now the loan has hiked to a level it has never been before in this, you know, financial year 2026-2027. So of course there's a lot of questions, and of course a great implication as well on businesses.
And you see, on financial fitness, we are usually taught that you avoid debt, consumption debt. I feel and I believe that also applies to the
government.
To the government, because there's no way you can take a loan or loans and you are using almost half of it for recurrent expenditure, salaries, allowances, and all, or even investments that are not really bringing in the money, and bringing in the money can be directly or indirectly. Indirectly, where it is facilitating traders to take their produce to the market. So if it's not doing that, if it's not enhancing the growth of the economy, then I think that is a bad debt.
It's a bad
debt. And I don't know when we shall decide as a country to face the bull, you know, and hold it by the horns and address the $1 million question. Because, and this, I think I have said this many times, and the reason I say this is because other experts, especially in the financial sector, have said Kenya has never had a revenue issue.
It's an expenditure.
It is an expenditure issue. So even if we are to borrow, even if we are to do all these things, it is an expenditure issue. It's not a revenue issue. And that's why, for me, look even look at the government and the some of the, if you hear the empowerment programs every weekend, the amounts of money that are being given out by the government via that. How are we going to account for that money? Where is that money coming from? So unless we sit down and have a sober conversation as a country in terms of even salaries, because especially for the public servants, and public servants here, I don't mean those who, you know, the other day we were looking at the increment in salaries. I'm talking about members of parliament. I'm talking about the executive. I'm talking about the judiciary as well. And the reason why I'm saying this is because if you look at some of the allowances that they are paid, why should they be paid sitting allowance? Who said they should stand? When they are working, they are supposed to be sitting. So why are you paying them sitting allowance? They're supposed to go to parliament, sit, legislate. So why? That's their work. So how then do you come and tell them that they'll be given sitting allowance? Why are you giving them all this mileage in terms of transport? We are not also paid mileage for, you know. So unless we do that, it will still continue to be a very, very difficult period for the nation, because it's not about revenue, it's about the expenditure and how we do this. Look at the guzzlers that the government is using every day. Have you ever seen the president's motorcade? Have you ever seen the deputy president's motorcade? Have you seen the cars the cabinet secretaries are using, and the chase cars? Can you imagine how much money we could be saving to plow back into the economy and empower people, as opposed to using it on a small percentage of the people? Of course, they will say it's a meager. It's not meager. It's a if you look at it, the financial experts will tell you the compounding interests. If you look at it in terms of the amount of money they will use for a period of the term they will be in office, 5 years,
yes,
it will be a huge amount, you know. But anyway, so that's in the Daily Nation. And it's a story that you can read inside the Daily Nation and get to see what else is happening in as far as the same is concerned. Still on the front page, CBE, the bold, still on the Nation, CBE, the bold dream that turned into a nightmare. Indeed, when the government unveiled the new education curriculum, it was billed as a bold departure from this is rote learning to a learner-centered revolution to nurture skills, creativity, and critical thinking. An end to the high-stakes, exam-oriented 844 regime until cracks emerged. And so that's a story that you can read on page 7 inside the Daily Nation. Still, state sued over chaotic border rain amid matatu strike. Indeed, it was a tough day yesterday for motorists, or rather passengers who use the public service vehicles, as a lawyer has sued the government over the failure to regulate commercial motorcycle operations, which he says has led to widespread road carnage, mob violence, sexual assault, and destruction of property across the country.
Yeah.
The petition cites an apparent link between the state's inaction and the continued violations by border operators, including rising cases of the torching of vehicles, especially of motorists involved in accidents with the riders. And of course, I know so many people have different stories when it comes with to borders, and it's quite unfortunate. You touch one, even when they are to blame, even when they are on the wrong, because there are traffic rules and regulations, but they don't really care. For them, they are a law unto themselves. They don't comply to any traffic rules and regulations. Once you touch one, then they come, all of them.
As a gang.
Yes, as a gang. And they torch vehicles. We have seen them.
Where?
When they hit you, when they know they are on the wrong, they don't even wait for you. They don't even stop. They zoom off.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how, because you know, ni wahenga walisema usipoziba ufa
utajenga ukuta.
Now, hatukuziba ufa when it was still early days. But now look at them. They are now uncontrollable. They are chaotic and all. Not all of them, but a good number of them.
A good number
of them. A good percentage. And I don't know, we tried with the circles and all, but still,
there are no licenses, they don't keep traffic rules, and police do not do anything about it, which is always worrying, and you wonder, ni ati wameonwa kando
ama ni nini,
because they will just break rules and they are just left to go scot-free. And you see the unfortunate thing yesterday, even as matatus were striking, they actually got more business.
The same guys who are the cause.
They got a lot of business because now people could not move. So they take those borders and it's the easiest way out. It is beyond the strike. I mean, more has to be done by the government because when this matatu strike, now the people are suffering for something they have no business with. And unfortunately, it leads even to more chaos. And now I think the worst fight would be between borders and matatus. That will be terrible because it is the people that may suffer or have to incur that. But anyway, let me look at another story here on the Daily Nation that says, your job is safe. Oburu tells Kindiki over power sharing talks. So a story covered on page 12. I think this is a familiar statement. Your job is safe. Don't worry. ODM leader Oburu Oginga rather says ODM UDA pre-election coalition talks will focus on fair and balanced sharing out of government positions. So that has been reported on the Daily Nation as well. And I think just to read one more story here, that is on the Daily Nation, even as we proceed on. It's an interesting story here, which I think we really need to address.
Yeah.
Sodomy in schools, how to psychologically prepare your child to speak up. So this is real, and it's happening in our boys' schools.
Yeah.
And I think we need to arise, even as parents, to be intentional about talking to these children, just to understand what really they are experiencing in school. And definitely pray with them as well. So that is the conversation that I think needs a lot of attention and a lot of prayer.
Yeah.
But also, as parents, we need to be very proactive so that we can know and understand what these children are going through. And also the perpetrators, we pray that they will be brought to justice as well.
All right. Quickly, the Standard, the one-term plan, that is what they are going with. One candidate, fresh details have emerged on how former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo is brokering a truce between former President Uhuru Kenyatta and former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua to forge a united opposition against President William Ruto in 2027. Multiple sources say the plan took shape at a meeting in Nigeria attended by Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, where the leaders agreed on the need for a single formidable challenger. Plans are now underway to make it happen. And there is a photo there of former President Uhuru, former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka, and former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. On the Financial Standard, pull out how Kenya loses trillions to tax fraud. Washington-based research organization estimates the country lost over 6.1 trillion shillings over the decade from 2013 to 2022 due to trade misinvoicing. That's on the pullout. And finally, looking at the Business Daily and what is being reported this morning, Kenya adds new twist to Cocoa Network's collapse. That's the headline. David Ndii questions veracity of carbon credits. Clean Cooking Farm files for insolvency after Kenya clash. And how Trump triggered fall of gold prices at NSE. Read that as well. Electricity overtakes milk, eggs as Kenya's top import from Uganda. And that is what is happening in the Business Daily.
Awesome, and that brings us to the end of our newspaper review. But definitely you can keep in touch with us on Hope FM. At the top of every hour, we have some very timely news updates for you. Right here on Hope TV, we have Dira at 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. we have Newswatch. So you can also tune in and be informed about what is happening in our country and beyond. Let's have a look at the video of the day.
You have a plan for me.